You type this into your calculator. If you haven't done that, you go ahead and do this. Make sure plot 1 is turned off. 3 9s followed by a 1 plus 2.407x plus 2.77. And what are we talking about here? We're talking about a diver going off a springboard. And so I'm hoping that at this point you realize that we're talking quadratic most likely, right? So this is the springboard, we're jumping, and then into the water we go. I should add something here though. Make sure you pay attention to this part. Is it possible that the diver just goes straight like this? That the diver doesn't go up and then down? There is a possibility of that. I would not rule that out. If this happens, you probably won't remember, but the x component will be missing. If that x value, if there's no x, then it's usually just goes straight down. So that's a hint there. But again, you use your calculator and then you're good to go. I'm going to graph this. Can't be, right? I did this on purpose. Yes, sure. So if you go second delete, I believe it allows you to insert. So second delete calls insert, and then you can actually plot something in there. You don't have to clear the whole thing. You learned something new, didn't you? I didn't know this either until just recently. Zoom, standard, pretty good graph. You could probably trim away some of the stuff around it, but we'll just leave it. So to graph this, if it didn't give you anything else, obviously for us our domain goes from 0, that's our distance, to where you get into the water. So we're going to have to figure out the x-intercept. And we know that the highest point is obviously given to us by the vertex. So we're going to go from 0, which is the surface of the water, all the way to the highest point. So we're just interested in the jump itself. We're not interested in the part where you go underwater, okay? So I'm just going to show you what this looks like. So I found the important points. I found the y-intercept. I found this x-intercept here on the positive end. I also found the vertex right here. And that is enough. That's all I needed. So I made sure that I went all the way up to 4 here. So watch. I made this half, and then 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. And so 3.26 is right about there. The vertex is 1.2, 4.22, so that's there. And then the y-intercept is 2.77. That's given to me by the equation itself. So you're doing, this is your trajectory here, and then you go down into the water. You need to have labels, you need to have a scale, and you need to have the right shape. So 3 marks for, I think this is what the labels, shape, no, labels, scale, what's P stand for? Shape, points. Like I'm looking at the points, I'm looking at the shape, right? So 1 mark for each correct. So if you have all these components, including your equation, including your labels, which need to have units attached to them, distance in meters, height in meters, then you're good to go. Okay? So 3 marks for the graph. Let's keep going here. It says, explain the meaning of the 0 or the zeros of your graph. I told you that that means, did I tell you that that means x-intercepts? Roots? Yeah. So you could have ChatGPT'd it. Anyways, it tells us the distance traveled, right? The distance, the horizontal distance at a height of 0 meters above the water. So in other words, it's the distance traveled when hitting the water surface, or when you're just about to hit the surface of the water. So it's just giving a bit of a context around the x-intercept. So something like that gives you a mark. How far has the diver moved horizontally when they return to the same height at which they left the springboard? Well, what was the height we left the springboard at? 2.77. So basically you know the y value. So you want to go y2 is equal to 2.77. And then you go find the intersection. And you end up with 2.41 meters horizontally. So that is your answer for C. Okay. Tell me if it's different than yours, guys. Sometimes I make changes to these ACs. I think I kept it the same. Okay, so because we started at 277, we go back to it and we figured out how long did that take. Okay. How high above the waters, the surface of the water is the springboard? Duh, it's the y-intercept, right? 2.77. So that's, in this case, the context would give us that. Okay. And then domain and range. We're assuming that, right, horizontally, it's from 0, from the springboard to 3.26 meters horizontally by the time you hit the water. Or you can go, for range, you go 0, because that's the surface of the water, all the way to the highest point, which is 4.22. So that is given to me by the vertex. So that is that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and another 3, that's 7. So this one stays out of 7 total. So make sure you write down a mark out of 7.